Do you mean prior to her diagnosis?
Yeah.
Okay. So, with my mom, it was very sudden. We didn't see a whole lot of changes in her until right before her diagnosis. Now, also, you have to remember, I was 20 and I was, in college, and so I wasn't there day in and day out with her. But the first symptoms that we noticed were quite acute. She was telling us she was having flu-like symptoms, which, from what I could ascertain, meant, like vomiting. And she must have had a headache, though, because I remember her holding her head, but she never complained of a headache. So, but then, in hindsight, looking back, the months prior to that, she was acting kind of loopy. We actually thought she was kind of losing her mind. We thought, oh great, mom's going crazy. She was just like, she would tell us funny things, like the neighbor girl was coming in their house during the day, so they started locking the doors. I don't think the neighbor girl was coming in their house. It was just like, it was very odd. So little things like that kind of make you go, that's sort of weird, and subtle enough that you could kind of like brush it off. So that's why for us it was a very acute onset.
Yeah.
What happened, from my vantage point, from my experience, I went home one weekend to do laundry, and Mom was home on a Sunday, and she usually worked Sundays at the flower shop that time of year because everybody's starting to plant their flowers and everything. And she was sick, and I thought, it's really unusual for Mom to stay home sick. My entire life, she had never stayed home sick. And so, maybe she had the flu, whatever. So then the following weekend was Mother's Day, and I went home to visit her, and she was still sick. And I remember when I left, I said to my dad, you need to take Mom to the doctor. Well, it wasn't until the following Wednesday that I got a call from my dad that he took her to the emergency room. And he actually had to carry her there because by that time she was so incapacitated. So the doctors, it's in a small town, Monroe. They did a lot of other testing, but they didn't have an MRI at the time there, so they did a CAT scan, and that was just sort of a lucky hunch that the ER doctor had. They had run many other tests. They'd given her fluids, and she started to perk up, but so it wasn't immediately obvious what it was. Because she had been so healthy up until that point in her life.
Okay.
Initially, no. Well, yes and no. So, when she first got sick, it was one of those things where, like, I got a phone call from my dad, and it's like, Mom's being rushed, and has to have emergency surgery, and, so it was all, very sudden. And at that time, she wasn't really talking or anything. The tumor was so large in her brain that it was kind of starting to shut down systems, and really it could have killed her at any time. After the surgery, I remember her telling me, I just wish I could get rid of this headache, which I'm sure her head hurt. It wasn't until really later, when she was really in her, final days of life, that we really noticed a lot of pain. Once again, though, it's hard to know what kind of pain she was in, because the last 3 months she was pretty much unable to communicate with us. So, if you're sitting next to somebody, you can kind of feel and sense that they're in pain, just sort of their facial expressions and that sort of thing. But we don't know what was hurting or how it was hurting. It could be she was hurting from being in the bed all day, So, there was definitely some pain, but as an observer rather than, the person experiencing it, I really don't know.
All right.